of all the fictional monsters I've come across, I feel like goblins are treated the worst. In almost every game or story they show up in, they're always at the bottom of the barrel. Like, if there was an RPG monster tier list, I guarantee you, goblins will be chilling right at double F tier, easy. However, the webtoon we're talking about today puts goblins in a new, more positive light. In this story, they're the protagonists. And I'm not gonna hold you, after reading it myself, I have a newfound respect for goblins, and I feel like you will too. So, without much further ado, let's talk about this fire webtoon called Just the Goblin. But folks, before we continue, I just want to remind you about the Donjiverse website where we got a bunch of merch available. We still have shirts and hoodies, so if you're looking for some new drip, now is the perfect time. With that being said, on to the webtoon. So our story begins with our protagonist Nog, his best friend Gubble, and a bunch of other goblins hunting for boars, basically getting dinner for tonight. They almost fail, but they manage to catch them thanks to Nog, who happens to be the only inventor in their whole goblin village. Then as they're congratulating Nog for catching all these boars, they're attacked out of nowhere by a bunch of adventurers. We find out that apparently adventures have been the bane of goblins' existence since like the beginning of time. Since as long as Nog can remember, these adventurers have been hunting them down for their ears and other things that they carry. So this part brought me back to how in RPGs, a lot of times your beginning quest is to like kill a bunch of weak monsters and collect the things that they drop. I never thought about that from the monster's perspective. Like, imagine that. Your guild of warriors pops into the habitat of some random ass monster and you murder them for no reason just to take like their foot. Like, imagine that happening to you. Wouldn't you be pissed? I'll be pissed. So from jump, I feel for these goblins, yo. Like, I'm sorry you gotta deal with adventurers robbing you of your things and killing you without remorse. Anyway, Nog and Gubble dip together. Then, thanks to Nog's wits, they manage to escape and go back to their goblin village. And here we get a better look at all the different styles of goblins. And I will say, I love the way they look. Like before this, I would say That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime had the best designs for goblins. But these guys are on par with that. I like them. I like them a lot. Honestly, the whole art style is fire. It reminds me of an RPG game. It kind of gives me Dragon Quest vibes, which makes sense because the artist was inspired by Dragon Quest when it came to drawing this webtoon. So Nog and Gubble continue making their way through the village, and to give you an idea of just how evil these adventurers are, one of the goblins goes to Gubble and is like, yo, sorry about your brother, fam. I heard they died. And goblin deaths are so common that Gubble's like, oh, word? I thought he died last week. When your people are getting killed so often, you forget when your brother died. That's when you know you have a big problem. Like, Nog comments on how she has a bunch of siblings, so, you know, it's easy to lose track of them. But still, bro, like, losing a life should not be a simple thing that just happens because it's Tuesday. But this is the life that goblins live, fam. It's freaking terrible. Anyway, the duo continues walking through the village, and they see that the elder is giving some huge speech. He's like, yet again, we've been killed by the adventurers. We need to find a new way to survive against these threats. So I'm like, all right, cool. At least they got a plan laid out. At least they're getting ready to defend themselves against this influx of adventurers, right? And Nog is hyped too. He's like, oh, what's the elder gonna say? What's the plan? What's the strat? I'm here for it. And tell me how the elder's like, we will fight the adventurers by putting more goblins on our hunts. Our sheer numbers will overwhelm our enemies. And at this point, both me and Nog are like, bro, are you dumb? You see these adventurers. They can use magic. They have boss-ass weapons. Y'all gonna fight that with numbers? I remember back in my MMO days, when I saw more monsters on the map, I got happy because it meant more EXP. So I promise you, if these adventurers act like how regular RPG players do, they're gonna be more hyped seeing more goblins available for them to kill. I'm sure to them it just means more goblin ears and more goblin teeth and linens and so Nog tells him, bro, that's a dumb idea because you're only gonna get us killed even more. So the elder retorts with, so what do you suppose then? Are you going to invent something then fail? Again? And Nog gives his idea, and honestly, it makes way more sense than the elders. He's like, obviously the adventurers have become masters at hunting us, so we should change when we hunt, you know, get the adventurers off their game, and ultimately find out exactly why they hunt us so we can maybe work a peace treaty or some shit. But of course, the elder laughs at him and nobody takes him seriously. They're like, goblins trying to understand adventurers? Who cares what they think? They kill us, and we need to survive. That's all we need to know. With that, Nog heads back to his hut pissed, and Gubble follows him. But Nog is not down to give up that easily. He's like, all right, you know what? Since no one wants to listen to us, Gubble, me and you are gonna capture a human. So the next day, after the goblin hunting party leaves the village, Nog and Gubble go hunting for humans. They go to a clearing away from where the adventurers found their goblin hunting party, unfortunately. And here we get a bit more of Nog's smarts, and I like that. I feel like it's really cool when you have a protagonist who's less reliant on their physical attributes and more reliant on how they can think themselves out of situations. He talks about how if he was a weak adventurer, instead of staying with the main group, he would go off somewhere else and try to hunt down weaker monsters who are separate from their group. Basically so he could keep all the spoils for himself. He set up a bunch of traps, and then they finally find a lonely adventurer just snooping around for his own hunt. But unfortunately, all the traps fail, except for the last one, which only works because Gubble was like, instead of putting an ore here, let's put a goblin doll and see if he reacts to that instead. And homie actually does. So Gubble out here thinking too, like Gubble not as smart as Nog, but Gubble got brains too. Don't sleep on Gubble. With the adventurer now trapped, Nog and Gubble get to interrogating. Nog's like, what is your beef with goblins, bro? Like, why do you guys always hunt us down for our teeth, our linens, and all that shit? Like, we're living beings too. We have feelings too. We don't want to get hunted down. And tell me how the adventurers like a stupid goblin like you would not understand. Bro, you're tied up and you're not helping yourself. Just answer their damn questions so you could leave. But since the adventurer's not being compliant, Nog's like, alright, guess you're gonna have to die. But he was just bluffing. They didn't want to actually kill him without getting information. However, Gubble didn't know that. Gubble be thinking, but she doesn't think too hard. So, thinking that Nog actually meant to kill him, she cuts the rope and homie falls to his death. You hate to see it. So obviously Nog gets pissed. He's like, fam, the whole point was to get information from the human. We can't get information out of a corpse. And poor Gubble's like, oh shit, but like, you said it's time to kill him. And Nog's like, bro, it was a bluff. It was a bluff to get him to talk. But regardless, homie's dead, so much for the information. With that, Nog tries to go down to the pit to retrieve his dead body, but then a spirit pops out from his body and greets Nog. And Nog, not knowing what this is shook. He's like, oh shit, the ghost came to haunt me. The ghost of the adventurer came to give me the work. Then without a word, the spirit or sprite just enters Nog's body. With that, he climbs out of the pit and then he gets a message saying, welcome, player. Aw, shit. That soul leveling energy creeping around is about to get crazy. Whenever I see a mention of player in the webtoon, I know the protagonist is about to get some broken abilities. Speaking of abilities, he actually does unlock one called Accelerate. The sprite finally starts talking and it's like, hey, you got a new ability. Do you accept it? But Nog is too busy yelling at the sprite telling him to stop haunting him. And poor Gubble can't even see the sprite, so she's just wondering why Nog is screaming at the air. But before they can look into this any further, a bunch of adventurers find them. So Gubble and Nog split up and dip. Nog is running as fast as he can, but Nog's pursuer is catching up real quick. And he's a fire mage, so it's not looking good for our boy. And the whole time he's talking to the sprite like, bro, how do I get this message out of my face? I'm trying to run for my life. And the sprite's like, all you gotta do is click accept or decline. Like that's the rule. I told you this. You were too busy yelling at me about haunting you and So finally, Nog accepts. He uses Accelerate, and in the dopest panel ever, he managed to dodge all the hits his pursuer's throwing at him. So now Nog's like, whoa, wait, I can use skills now? I thought only adventurers can use skills. What is going on? But he doesn't have much time to talk to the sprite right now, so he continues running until they make it back to the village. Once he gets there, bro, I thought what the adventurers were doing to goblins was already bad, but we actually get a clear picture of how bad it is. And people, these adventurers are scum, fam. We have goblins missing limbs. We have goblins with holes in their chest. Like, it is a really sad scene. Like, the whole time I was reading this webtoon, I was thinking it was more lighthearted than and then I saw this scene and I was like, oh, you know, maybe not, because this is kind of brutal. But Nog is used to that. He's used to seeing dead goblin bodies, so he's just trying to figure out where the hell Gubble is. He goes running around the village and the sprite stops him and is like, yo, I'm here to help you. If you listen to me, then I can actually help you out. Then he tells Nog about the skill called Analyze that will help him find his friend. Nog uses it, then he basically gets the equivalent of detective mode in any video game out there now. I feel like detective mode is so common nowadays, or eagle vision or whatever you want to call it. Once he finds her, they hug it out, and you see just how much these two care for each other. They low-key remind me of John and Sarah, but just in terms of how close they are as friends. I feel like Nog is very different from John, and Gubble is very different from Sarah. So together again, they reconvene at Nog's hut. And there he starts interrogating the sprite, whose name is actually Pip. From Pip, he finds out that he now has access to the system. That's what granted him the Analyze skill, the system skill, and all the other windows he sees popping up in front of him. So basically, thanks to killing that adventurer, Nog is now a system user and he has access to whatever the system is able to do for him. But since he just got access to the system, he's only level 1. And people, he is weak as all hell. Like, homie started the MMO with the worst class and the worst stat roll known to existence. People, it's so sad that Gubble, who is not a system user, is stronger than he is. But Nog realizes something huge. This has never happened to a Goblin before. Now he has access to a bunch of stuff that he doesn't even really know about. And most importantly, he can get stronger with this EXP system so that he can actually survive against these adventurers. But he still has a bunch of questions like, what is this system? Why are only adventurers allowed to use it? So after thinking for a bit, he's like, you know what? I got a new plan. Gubble, let's become adventurers and find out why the hell they don't like us. And to find out what happens next, you're gonna have to read the webtoon for yourself. Right now, there are 18 chapters available on Webtoon for you to read, and honestly, this was a really fun read, bro. I feel like I was really caught up in a lot of the dark school manhwa stories. This is a nice change of pace. It could definitely still get dark, but it's more of a shonen if anything. And I really mess with Nog's goal, like he just wants to find out why adventurers don't like them so he can keep his people safe. He doesn't even really hate adventurers like that, he just wants to know the reason why. So I am excited to follow Nog on this journey, and I hope you are too. But with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to hit that like button, hit that bell to stay notified of whenever I upload new content, and subscribe because we have a bunch more content on the way. Huge shout out to my lovely patrons. Without you guys, I would not be able to make content like this all the time. Really appreciate all the support you guys are giving the channel. And if you want to become a patron and gain access to my uncut reads and a bunch of stuff like that, head to my Patreon page in the description below. With that being said, be easy, stay lit, Black Lives Matter, and don't forget, you can do whatever the hell you put your mind to. All it takes is practice and time. Peace out, y'all.